There will be more hearings, more testimony, and we will fight tooth and nail to ensure the murder committed by federal agents never, ever happens again. I'm proud of Mr. Salgado's sons. In the midst of an unimaginable grief, they have shown extraordinary courage. They have become powerful advocates, not only for their father, but for every family that wants answers and accountability. We are stronger than fear. We are stronger than intimidation. We will keep fighting until justice is done.
This hearing is called to order. Good morning, everyone. I am Congressman Adriano Espaillat from New York's 13th Congressional District and the chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. I want to thank Congressman Benny Thompson, who's the ranking member of an important Homeland Security Committee, as well as my colleagues that have joined us here today from across the country, particularly the Texas delegation, and of course, my good friend and colleague in the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia. I want to thank you all, the Texas delegation, for hosting us here today, for your hospitality, and for your interest, genuine interest in this case. The entire nation is watching this case. First and foremost, I want to thank the Salgado family. My heart goes out to you. Mi corazón está con ustedes. No family should go through what you're going through. Ronaldo, Lorenzo, we are here today in solidarity with you to make a pursuit of justice for your father. He will not be forgotten. No, nunca olvidaremos a su padre. Gracias por su coraje de estar aquí hoy con nosotros. Thank you for being with us here today. Just 6 days later, after the killing of the Salgado, another incident occurred in Maine where an ICE officer shot and killed Johann Sebastian Duran Guerrero, a 25-year-old, a father with a work permit, in front of his 3-year-old daughter. DHS has admitted that neither of these two men were the target of their pursuit, their operations. In fact, they were 6 days apart. Not one of the officers wore a body camera. 2 deaths. 8 people have been killed at the hands of federal immigration officers, including 2 U.S. citizens in the state of Minnesota, where we were as well some months back to listen to that community. These 2 tragedies could have been prevented. We feel very strongly that they could have been prevented. They are the result of the mass deportation efforts led by this administration that have allocated $113 billion to ICE, setting arrest quotas at 2,000 per day. 12,000 ICE recruits have been hired. There's been a surge in hiring and a reduction in training. The body camera program has not been implemented, although they got $20 million for it. The use of deadly force has not been addressed. The importance of improved training has not been addressed. The critically importance of mental fitness of these agents has also not been addressed. So this is a perfect storm that unfortunately has led to the killing of people across the country. So we're here to support the family and to listen to the community. We've invited ICE and they refuse. We've invited DHS and they refuse. We invited the FBI and they refuse. Our federal authorities have refused to come forward. And so we are here to hold them accountable. And so I want to thank all of you for being here. Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia has been a strong voice for immigration reform. She has placed on the floor a discharge petition for the Dream and Promise Act. I will soon be considering also a dissimilar action for body cameras. And of course, there is an ongoing discussion, a broader discussion about immigration reform in general that we must address. And so the Hispanic Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, has been active in cases like this. We have been in the courtroom where we were successful in gaining access to the detention centers at Dilley, at Delaney, at Delanto, at several detention centers across the country. We were also in the courtroom preventing the IRS from sharing confidential taxpayer ITIN information with ICE, and we stopped the airlines from selling passenger information to law enforcement agents. Not sharing, selling. And so we have been active in the courtroom. We have been active legislatively, and of course we're here on the field addressing a crisis like this one. Thank you again, Ronaldo and Lorenzo, for sitting at this table while you're still grieving. Yo sé que ustedes todavía están muy afectados por esta tragedia, por eso estamos aquí con ustedes. Thank you, District Attorney Tier, for your leadership. Councilmember Martinez, of course, Mr. Proaño, Father, also Father DeGeorge, and Ms. Cabrera. Thank you all for being here with us today as we begin this field hearing. And I yield back to our distinguished ranking member of Homeland Security, Congressmember Benny Thompson.
Thank you, Chairman SVI and the Congressional Hispanic Caucus for helping me organize this important oversight forum today. Thank you also to Sylvia Garcia for hosting us here in Houston. Your leadership helps ensure that communities are heard by Congress and that the Trump administration and the Department of Homeland Security are held accountable. We are here today to address the tragic killing of Lorenzo Araujo, who was shot by ICE agents on July 7th, 2026. Over the years, the Committee on Homeland Security has conducted oversight on countless issues, but none have been more urgent than Americans and immigrants alike being locked up, assaulted, shot, and even killed by the Department of Homeland Security, including ICE and CBP. It pains me that the friends and family members of Lorenzo are not the only ones who have suffered this tragedy at the hands of DHS. Preceding Lorenzo's death, Ruben Ray Martinez, Miramar Martinez, Renee Good, and Alex Preddy were also shot in cold blood. Countless others have been beaten, harassed, and detained without cause. What we have seen time and time again following these deaths is a pattern of obfuscation and misinformation by DHS. The facts before us today in Lorenzo's killing follows this deeply disturbing pattern. Despite the lack of body-worn cameras footage, ICE rushed to claim self-defense, but that narrative has been contradicted by others in the van. We also know that these same witnesses have been detained by ICE and pressured to self-deport. That's the obstruction, and it's the incompatible with a creditable investigation. ICE also initially claimed that Lorenzo was a target of an immigration operation, but hours later conceded that he was not the person ICE intended to arrest. Harris County District Attorney Sean Treyer, who is here with us today, says federal authorities have refused to cooperate with his office. ICE has cut off access to surveillance footage, vehicle logs, operation data, and even refused to turn over basic information on the incident. ICE cannot stonewall local law enforcement. We will not tolerate such secrecy when a community demands truth. Sadly, less than a week after Lorenzo's death, ICE fatally shot another man, and a father to a 3-year-old child from Maine. The victim of this shooting was also not the intended target. Again, there was no body-worn camera footage. And again, DHS claimed that the shooting victim had endangered public safety. In other words, ICE followed its usual playbook in the wake of a shooting by one of its officers. The lack of body-worn cameras footage is unacceptable and has been a hallmark of these operations. DHS blames the lack of cameras on government shutdowns, but even months after DHS pledged to rapidly deploy the technology, they are still not in use. And to no one's surprise, the Trump administration has no interest in reforms that will save lives. In response to these two most recent killings, ICE quietly instructed officers to cease most of the vehicle stops, a tactic admission that the tactic had been out of control. Yet, within a day, President Trump publicly reversed the pause in a social media post ordering that traffic stops continue. This is no way to manage law enforcement operations. It will only lead to more tragedies. Today's forum is about putting facts on the record, cutting through the misinformation, and demanding accountability. Accountability means evidence. We demand DHS cooperate with local law enforcement agencies by sharing all the evidence in its possession on these shootings. Accountability means reform. Body-worn cameras must be in active use by every ICE agent. Witnesses must be protected against deportation. ICE must submit to independent and transparent investigations following any use of deadly force. To Representative Espaillat, the CHC, our witnesses, and the Houston community, thank you for your courage and commitment to this most sacred work. Today, we honor Lorenzo's memory as well as the other victims of ICE violence by demanding truth, accountability, and reform. With that, I yield back.
Thank you, Ranking Member. Before introducing the next speaker, I want to thank the members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus for teaching many across the country how to fight for immigration. We saw how Congressman Joaquin Castro went to Delhi to rescue young children there. How Congressman Menendez been to Delaney, and how the Congress members from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus have been at the forefront of the fight for justice for immigrants across the country. And I yield now to, of course, your representative here in Texas in the 29th District and the whip of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, Congresswoman Sylvia Garcia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you to the ranking member and to all my colleagues who are joining us here today. I especially also want to thank the witnesses who have agreed to testify and all the members of the public who have taken the time to be here. This hearing is about accountability. It's about transparency and ensuring that the responsibility that we have to uphold the Constitution is carried out and that federal government exercises its authority under that Constitution. It is my honor to represent the 29th Congressional District in Washington. The communities I represent have contributed to the strength and success of not only our city, but in fact, our country. There are communities built on family, faith, hard work, and there are communities that believe in opportunity, where neighbors look one after each other, who believe that every American deserves a free, safe space to pursue the American dream. For months, I've heard from people in my community who are scared. Parents are afraid to drive their children to school. Workers are afraid to go to work. Seniors are afraid to go to church, buy groceries, and go to even doctor's appointments. On July 7th, our community's worst fears became a tragic reality when a federal enforcement operation ended with the death of Lorenzo Salgado Arrojo. Since that day, families across Houston have been asking the same questions. How did this happen? Could it have been prevented? And who will be held accountable? Houston is one of the most diverse cities in America. It is a city built by immigrants from every corner of the world. They have opened businesses, served in our military, cared for our children, and helped make Houston the extraordinary city it is today. Our immigrant communities are not strangers. They're our neighbors. They are members of our churches. They coach our children's soccer teams. They sit beside us in classrooms and workplaces. They are part of the fabric of the city. That is why what happens during immigration enforcement operation matters, not only to those directly involved, but to the entire community of our city. It matters whether constitutional rights are respected. It matters whether families are treated with dignity and respect. And it matters when the public has confidence that these extraordinary powers are being exercised fairly, professionally, and lawfully. Congress has a constitutional duty to conduct oversight. Oversight is not about politics. It's about accountability. It's about making sure that agencies entrusted with enormous authority are using that authority wisely and responsibly. Some of the questions we want to answer to today will not get answers because it's already been stated. No representative ICE or Department of Homeland Security agreed to participate. Mr. Chairman, at this time, I'd like to introduce copies of letters that we have sent to ICE, Homeland Security, and all of them to seek an accountability. They have refused to answer any of these letters. Those are 6 letters. 2 were sent to them by our local Democratic delegation. 1 was sent from the CHC, 2 from oversight committees, 1 from the Homeland Security Committee, 1 for the Democratic caucus with 180 signatures. That's probably a record. And 1 letter asking for parole for Victor, and 1 letter requesting all evidentiary materials to be given to the local partners so that we know what is going on. All of them, to a 1, has received no answers. And I have been told by the Director of Homeland Security that they don't intend to give us any answers until their investigation is complete. So that's why hearings like these matter, so that we can get some answers. And I also want to introduce the second letter from the Relaciones Exteriores de Mexico, where in their letter to me, they say that the government of Mexico wishes to convey its concern regarding recent incidents involving the use of force and the conditions faced by Mexican nationals in the context of immigration enforcement detention. So it's not just here in Houston, it's across the country and globally that people are concerned about the actions of ICE. So I want to assure everyone in Houston and Magnolia and the East End that this does not end today. My colleagues and I will continue to investigate this administration's actions, demand accountability, and insist that every federal agency follows the Constitution and all the laws of the United States of America. There will be no more hearings. There will be more hearings, more testimony, and we will fight tooth and nail to ensure the murder committed by federal agents never, ever happens again. I'm proud of Mr. Salgado's sons. In the midst of an unimaginable grief, they have shown extraordinary courage. They have become powerful advocates, not only for their father, but for every family that wants answers and accountability. We are stronger than fear. We are stronger than intimidation. We will keep fighting until justice is done.